All right, so are you ready to dive into a world of whispers and owls acting a little strangely? Because today we are exploring the very first chapter of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
The first chapter. Interesting.
Yeah, you might think the first chapter, that's just setting the scene, right? But trust me, even before we get to the really big magic stuff, this chapter is already planting seeds for, well, pretty epic tale.
It's like walking onto a stage set. At first glance, everything seems pretty normal, but then if you look really closely, you start to notice those little hints. Those details that suggest something extraordinary is about to happen.
Exactly. And we start on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday. It's Privet Drive, home to the Dursleys. And they are, to put it mildly, the most ordinary family on the most ordinary street. They seem almost proud of that fact, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. They cling to it. Yeah, take Mr. Dursley, for example. Yeah, this man, he is practically allergic to anything that even sniffs of being out of the ordinary. And Rowling, she wastes absolutely no time in confronting him with exactly that.
No, she does not. Right from the get-go.
Well,
He sees a cat reading a map.
a cat reading a map.
Not even just glancing at it, but actually tracing the streets with its paw. What do you make of that? I mean, what's Rowling trying to tell us there, even on this seemingly mundane level?
Well, I think it just highlights how deeply ingrained this desire for normalcy is in Mr. Dursley's world. Everything has its place. Everything follows the rules. So when he sees something as simple as a cat behaving unusually, it throws his entire worldview into question.
Like the universe is just kind of gently, or maybe not so gently, trying to get his attention.
Precisely.
Give him a little tap on the shoulder.
And it doesn't stop there. I mean, he sees people in cloaks whispering about things that make him uncomfortable, obviously. Then there's the news report mentioning owls abandoning their nocturnal habits, shooting stars raining down. It's as if all around him, the barriers between the ordinary and the extraordinary are starting to crumble.
And it's all connected to a name that seems to make Mr. Dursley particularly uneasy. Potter.
Yeah, that name, it just kind of hangs in the air, doesn't it? Like a whispered secret.
It's like a premonition.
Yeah, and you see Mr. Dursley trying to just brush it off.
Oh, totally.
Trying to convince himself it's nothing to worry about at all.
Of course, because that's his coping mechanism, right?
Right.
Just clinging even tighter to his ordinary world when faced with anything unknown.
Exactly. It's a very, very human reaction, I think, to fear what we don't understand. But we shift from the quiet unease of Privet Drive to a conversation between Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall, and we see that this name, Potter, carries a weight far beyond what Mr. Dursley can even comprehend.
Yeah, because they're not just whispering about any Potters. They're talking about James and Lily Potter.
Yeah.
And the reason for their very sudden and very tragic disappearance.
A disappearance that has everything to do with the darkness lurking at the edges of this seemingly ordinary world that we've been talking about. We learn about Voldemort.
Ooh, Voldemort. Even saying the name, it's just chills.
Even all these years later. But this isn't just about Voldemort and the terrible things that he's done. It's about what his actions mean for a young boy named Harry, who is now orphaned. He's alone. And he's marked, isn't he? With that lightning bolt scar.
And that scar, it's more than just a physical mark, right?
Right.
It represents something much deeper.
It's a symbol of his connection to Voldemort, a connection forged from tragedy and destined to shape his future.
And it's this connection that leads us to, honestly, kind of a perplexing decision on Dumbledore's part.
Okay, yeah.
Why on earth would he leave baby Harry on the Dursleys' doorstep?
Yeah, it seems like the most illogical choice.
It really does.
Especially when you think about Professor McGonagall and her very valid concerns about the Dursleys' lack of warmth, their utter aversion to anything out of the ordinary.
I mean, it's almost like leaving a delicate flower in the care of somebody who's allergic to pollen.
That's actually a rather fitting analogy. But yet Dumbledore, in his infinite wisdom, he sees something that others don't. He understands that magic is often about balance.
Yeah.
About finding the extraordinary within the ordinary.
So it's not just about keeping Harry safe from Voldemort's followers. There's a deeper reason.
Exactly. He recognizes that Harry needs a connection to the human world. He needs, some sense of normalcy, however skewed that normalcy might be in the Dursley household.
To keep him grounded before he learns about magic and his extraordinary destiny. I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it, this juxtaposition?
Yeah.
This tiny baby who is the embodiment of magic and resilience being left on the doorstep of the most, the most mundane, magic-averse family imaginable.
Yeah, and it's made even more poignant by Hagrid's arrival, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, here we have this half-giant, this creature of myth and legend entrusted with bringing Harry to the Dursleys.
On a flying motorcycle.
Right.
Oh, well.
Talk about a memorable entrance.
You know, it's almost comical when you think about it. But underneath that gruff exterior, I mean, you see Hagrid's deep affection for Harry, his goodbye, that single tear rolling down his face. It speaks volumes about his emotional depth.
It's a reminder that, you know, even in a world of magic and wonder, it's those human connections that really resonate.
They really do.
And as Hagrid, you know, disappears into the night, leaving Harry in the care of the Dursleys, we're left with that final powerful image, Dumbledore standing on Privet Drive, raising his glass to the stars in a silent toast. "To Harry Potter," he whispers, "the boy who lived."
Chills. Every single time. That simple toast, whispered into the silence of Privet Drive. It just, I don't know, it marks the end of an era and the beginning of something extraordinary.
It's a promise, isn't it? It's a whisper of hope and kind of a hint of the adventures to come. But it also leaves us with questions.
Big questions. Like, how is Harry going to navigate life with this family, the Dursleys? This family who seems so determined to extinguish any spark of magic in him.
And what does it mean for Harry to grow up, well, unaware of who he really is, of this magical world that's out there waiting for him?
And why?
Yeah.
Why on earth would Dumbledore leave him there? Was he really just trying to protect Harry from Voldemort's followers?
Yeah.
Or was there something more to? I mean, wouldn't it have been, well, I don't know, maybe not easier, but wouldn't it have made more sense to leave Harry with wizards?
Yeah.
Wizards who understood and embraced magic.
Right. It seems like a much simpler solution.
Right. But I guess as we've seen, simplicity isn't always, Dumbledore's style. He seems to be playing a much, much longer game here. One that involves understanding the balance.
Yeah.
The balance between the ordinary and the extraordinary.
And maybe that's the key takeaway from this first chapter. I mean, the magical world, it's tempting, it's wondrous.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist in isolation. It's intertwined with our own world, hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who know how to look for it.
It's like those owls, defying their very nature, flying in broad daylight, or that cat we talked about, sitting on a wall, reading a map as if it were the most natural thing in the world. It's these subtle disruptions, these little whispers of magic that surround us. I mean, if we're just open to seeing them.
Right, and sometimes those disruptions, they're exactly what we need to shake us out of our routines, to remind us that there's still magic to be found even in the everyday.
Just like Mr. Dursley, we might be tempted to, to cling to our ordinary lives.
Right.
To shy away from anything that challenges how we see the world. But as Harry's story teaches us, sometimes the greatest adventures, they lie just beyond the boundaries of our comfort zones.
So, as you continue on with Harry's journey, as you keep reading, just think about this. What seemingly ordinary events in your own life might hold the potential for something truly extraordinary?
And on that note, we will leave you to it. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an eye out for that magic hidden in plain sight.